Hey, everybody, it's your girl PJamma from PJamma Life. This way. And we're here today. And why don't you two introduce yourselves?
It's Patrick, as always. Here I am.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, everybody, this is David. Happy New Year to all of our Star Wars and movie fan aficionados across the internet. How is everybody tonight?
Oh, doing good. Doing good. How about you, Patrick?
Oh, just enjoying the last couple days of my vacation. Got to go back to work Monday.
I know, boo. I've been off most of December, so back to the grind. Yeah. But we got those stimulus checks, so I'm happy about that. So that'll cushion the blow a little bit.
There we go.
Well, we got two. We have one movie today, and then we're going to talk about our top 3 movies of all time, if we can kind of bring it down so that we can talk about what are our favorite movies and why. And so let's start off with our pick this week of Disney Pixar's Soul. So let's run the video. Let's run the highlights.
Music is all I think about. From the moment I wake up in the morning to the moment I fall asleep at night. I was born to play. It's my reason for living. Hello? What the? What? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Help! I'm not done! Holy! Oh my goodness! It's weird. It can't talk. There's a soul missing. Is this heaven?
No.
Is it H-E double hockey sticks?
Hell? Quiet coyote. No, it's the great before. This is where new souls get their personalities, quirks, and interests before they go to Earth. Here we are. Don't worry, you can't crush a soul here. That's what life on Earth is for.
Whoa! It's my life. Can you help me get back? Come on!
This won't be a disaster, that's for sure.
You're out there somewhere, little soul. And I'm gonna find you. Life is full of possibilities. You need to know where to look. Don't miss out on the joys of life. Like pizza. I can't smell. We can't taste either?
All that stuff is in your body.
No smell, no taste.
Or touch. See?
Okay, I get it.
Disney and Pixar Soul.
Get ready. Your life is about to start.
Start streaming December 25th.
Yeah, so David, why don't you talk about what you thought of Soul? And I'll talk about what I thought last. I want to hear what you guys thought.
This one was an interesting one for me. I think looking at it big picture as from the way it was drawn, and I thought it was really beautiful in that regard. But I really can't say that as a story for me that I really overall enjoyed it. I thought it was visually, I thought it was quite a lovely film, but it really wasn't, it wasn't one of those that grabbed me. I was a little surprised. I thought it would be one of these that's really, it's just perfect for the holidays, but just something in the messaging and all, I was just left, If you liked it, great. but it wasn't one that I would watch again or really recommend.
And what were the reasons you wouldn't recommend it?
I think just from the, I guess for me, I think there were some concerns there in some aspects of the story itself. With that, I think it kind of was in more of a messaging kind of way that I just didn't. I think Disney sometimes can get a bit of a negative rap for certain kind of pushing or promoting certain things. For me, I think the soul in waiting thing was just a little bit of a deal breaker.
Okay. I like that perspective, Pat.
Well, I liked the movie. It was gorgeous. I mean, the animation was flawless. Wonderful juxtaposition between 2D and 3D images, with like the soul keepers being 2D first, and the upper beings were all 2D, but the souls are 3D. And there was some really neat imagery, but story wise, it's just because it's following up after Upside Down or Inside Out. I'm sorry, Inside Out and Coco, which were just such great emotionally. Really set the hook, get the barb in real good. This one just did not seem to grab me as much. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a solid 8. It was a beautiful movie, decent performances. The animation, like I said, is flawless. I'm a big visual person. I love a movie that looks beautiful, and it was a beautiful movie. But the story was a little weak. But you can cover some of that up with some nice gloss, which is what they did. Overall, just it was. I'd recommend it, but it's not. Is it the best Pixar movie? No, definitely not.
Right. And I'm along the same things now. So I'm looking at it as an African American woman, and some may disagree, but there were several concerns that this movie brought up for me as a Black woman. And it was unsettling. And so the things that I loved, I thought the animation in this one was the best of Pixar. I thought they haven't done anything this gorgeous yet. There were some new innovations. Pat, like you said, the Jerrys, I thought the Jerrys were super original and interesting, because if you looked at them, they were both male and female, and they were
2D.
Yeah, and they were kind of 2D, but kind of see-through. It was just like a Picasso or something.
Right, very much so.
Yeah, and so I just thought that was amazing how they made that come to life, and how each of the little souls were personalities. I thought that was hilarious. And the one that was a megalomaniac, and they're like, woo, well, that's Earth's problem now. I just thought that was super cute. And since I'm a band geek, and I know Pat is one too, I really love the message about music and band, and because I remember those days of sitting in Corwin Elliott's band class, and you'd hear those songs, and they were terrible at first, and then they got better. But so those experiences were really good. And the scenes of Black life that it had, the drawings of African Americans in this movie, is some of the best that I've ever seen in animation. And I mean, there's an article with the co-director, and he was like, I just want to get the hair right. And so the hair was right for once. It wasn't like some square block or something. I mean, it was texturized and beautiful, and the scene in the barber shop was excellent, and the mom's shop was great, and seeing the jazz band connect, and the town, where he was living. So those scenes of Black life were really fantastic. And those were the scenes, I believe, that they used the consultants to come in and work on those scenes. So that was really interesting to me. Where then it kind of fell apart to me was when they jumped down and then they jumped into the body and they had Joe and the cat and 22 and Joe. And I was like, what the? I mean, no, I am so sick of Disney never allowing Black people just to be Black people. And as the hero, they always stick them in some kind of animal. Tiana becomes a frog. This guy becomes a cat. I think there's another one out there. And I'm like, can we just be? The only one I've ever seen say a human is Frozone in The Incredibles. That's probably because Samuel L. Jackson probably had a writer that said, you will not make me some kind of animal. So, I don't like that with Disney. And I've been noticing that for a number of movies. And just let Black people be Black people. I don't like that. Also, I was really kind of disturbed by 22's character because I was like, why does he? Well, I don't want to. You should have seen it by now, so I'm just gonna have some spoilers. So, if you want to turn it off, come back because here comes the spoilers. I didn't like how she decided to just take his body and take his and was just gonna run away with his body. I was like, what? I mean, this is that's kind of like the worst cultural appropriation, right? So, they moved from just taking our stuff to just physically taking our bodies. I didn't like that. And I didn't like how this message of sacrifice, where a lot of times this whole sacrifice for her, I was like, no, what would have been a positive kind of message to me was if when they dropped into the body, both of the characters dropped into Joe, and then she could have him as a guide to show her what it's like to live as a Black man in America. So you could see the joy and the pathos of it. I thought that would have been amazing. And I thought, or she could drop into the little girl who was on the trombone, and then he could teach her, some of the stuff. I just didn't like how they, made him into this cat in the whole quarter of the movie or so. I just thought that was dumb.
It was lazy writing.
Yeah.
It's a formula that Disney does to a certain extent. Tend to want to anthropomorphize animals. I mean, it's their brand. I mean, I get it. It's an easy choice for them, to do that. But
in 2020, I mean, that just didn't sit well with me and a bunch of other people who watched it, because this is always what Disney does. It doesn't allow us to be us. And at this point, they should have just allowed it. And I felt like, from what I understand, they changed the movie. So originally the movie was going to talk about this as a rock movie, and it was going to feature a white character, and it was about him finding his spark with rock music. And it was a white character. That would have worked fine. That would have been great. But I think they short shifted when they switched to jazz, because they really didn't give enough time to jazz, and kids really don't get jazz. I mean, you know what I mean? So
lots of us don't either. So
yeah. So, I get it, but there are other music forms that Black people have done that are original to us. And so, I don't know why they couldn't have done it with hip hop. I don't know why they couldn't have done it with the blues. I don't know, some of these other things. So I was just kind of like, so they short shifted. And then my other kind of issue, I was looking at it again, and it couldn't decide to me whether it wanted to be Inside Out or if it wanted to be this movie. So you kind of got a lot of the same kind of stuff from Inside Out, instead of really talking about the your purpose and your spark and some of those things. But then it kind of, that whole last 20 minutes or so with 22 and trying to find her, I was like, okay. That you could have cut that out, focused on Joe and the trombone player and discovering what was good. And it wasn't really, as Electric Melanin says, hi Electric Melanin, that it wasn't really a kids movie. So I mean, what did you all think? I just felt at the end it wasn't really a kids movie. Like the other one, it was too much adult for, most of them have little sly stuff that's adult, but this one had too much adult versus the kid content.
Well, I think there's a lot of truth to that comment. I think it's pretty astute. I'd also say some of the best cartoons that I remember growing up were those that were really predominantly for adults. The Warner Brothers cartoons. That, I grew up with those on the coming home from school or whatever in the afternoons, and Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny, and that group, a little different than the Disney folks. And I always liked that a little bit better. But I think they're right. I think that some of the themes with this, it's really, if it's trying to aim towards kids, it's really kind of missing the boat here a little bit with the themes. The way that this film, I guess we can say drawn with all this computer and the CGI, that really was a mark of excellence. Yeah. And I think that was something we all saw that was so great. I love what you said, Pam, because I didn't do it justice when I said how visually beautiful this was. In the way that you were describing on how they had gotten certain aspects of African-American life and the characters in the drawing. Yes. Spot on. And so often, beautiful. Yeah, because sometimes when things are drawn, it's like, okay, well, it's intended to look goofy. But maybe some races might look a little goofier in perspective than others. And I do think that this film there, they got it right. They got that part of it right.
Because like his mom, when you look at the scene of him and her talking and he's finally telling her how he really feels, I was looking at the mom and I was like, wow. I mean, that looks like a mom, her hair and her body shape and just everything was just so amazing, especially for animation. It was almost like rendered from like a real person, it felt like. So I just thought that was incredible. But one little thing is, I knew it was Jamie Foxx, but he didn't sound like Jamie Foxx. And so I was like,
every now and then I would hear Fox in him, but he was he's an actor and he was doing a good job of submersing himself in the role. Yeah. Now the comments you guys have made about the animation, if you take a few minutes, when I say a few minutes, several hours, and watch like Pixar movies sequentially, you will see the technological leaps every single. You go watch Toy Story. You're like, oh my God, how blocky is this? And then when they get Monsters Inc., they get hair right. You see fur flowing around and stuff, and get water right and Moana, and Finding Nemo. You see them get water right, and it's right. Yeah. And then they're getting other things right. I mean, everything is coming together. They just keep getting more and more technically proficient. And the complaints you had about the story, and I was talking about it being not a kids movie. The problems you had were the parts where they were trying to make it a kids movie, where they were trying to bring in the cutesy cat, the comedy sequences. They're the kids. That was part of the problem with the movie itself. It was just this. It wasn't very. They didn't know what they wanted to be, and so they got kind of mixed up, and it didn't come out very cohesive.
Yeah. But as far as that's what pushes it to me to like a 7 versus like a 5, I was originally like, but the but the visuals of it alone are just so gorgeous, and you could watch it and really look at it and see. I think Dwayne DeMarco says the animation had at least 3 different animation styles, and the soft blue baby balls and the other thing. So I think that's true. I think this was just visual perfection, and all that work and went into the animation, and then some big old holes in the story. So I mean, I think it also, the message is really positive in terms of the finding your purpose and understanding how precious life is. And those things are important right now, especially everything going on. That life is precious and life is valuable, and we have to take advantage of the positivity that's out there too. So I love that part of it. Just, work on the other stuff before you go out with a movie saying this was a leap in, an African-American movie. But, it's Disney, Pixar. But this is one thing that is going to be positive about it, is that there will be toys that, from this, of course, the merchandising. So we'll have, hopefully, Joe Gardner's and the little 22s, and we'll have maybe Mom, and we'll have, the barbershop guy, or, we'll have the what was his name? Sunbeam or Moonbeam, the little sign spinner guy.
Yes.
Which didn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah,
but,
don't have. Yeah, that was probably my favorite part as far as a story element. The fact that when you're in the zone, you're like, oh man, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I hope they have Jerry's, the Jerry's in like a doll or a print or, something. I would definitely get a Jerry and like put it on my desk. But yeah, so
Cody, that was hilarious. Oh my god, I was laughing my ass off.
I mean, there are genuinely funny moments in it. Don't get me wrong, but some of it is real heavy. So it doesn't quite balance out the heavy and the sweet. So it's like bad teriyaki.
Bad teriyaki.
So but that's Disney Soul. You all have any final thoughts on it?
I think we covered it pretty well, actually.
Yeah. Okay, now comes the year, that the beginning of what we want to talk about, which is, so we'll have a few weeks before WandaVision starts, and we'll talk about that every week. So we're going to cover different favorites, different things that we love about movies and TV, and over the next few weeks. So the first up is the top 3 movies that we have of all time. And
this is going to say a lot about all of us, just so you know.
And no one criticizing the other person's list. Right. This is their personal list.
Roll your eyes.
You can do a roll. I roll. But say what your top 3 are, and then but also say why, what you got out of it that made it your all time. So why don't we start with Patrick?
Okay, top 3. I'll start on number 3. Number 3, Goodfellas. God, that's a great movie. It's the best mob movie. I know there'll be people that'll argue with me that The Godfather was better. Godfather 2 is better. No, you're wrong. Because Goodfellas is so visceral. It's so in the moment. I mean, you want to talk about people that have gotten typecast from being in a movie. Joe Pesci can never be a sane guy again. No more than, I mean, he's just, ever since that movie, he's always the guy who's going to put your head in the vice, that guy. He was amazing. And every performance in that, every song in it, every shot is a glorious masterpiece. It is so good. I mean, rewatch it again. I mean, if you want to watch Godfather next to it, I'll take the Pepsi challenge. Let's do that. It's better. It's better.
Okay, better than Godfather. Okay, that's a challenge.
Number 2.
Uh-huh.
We're talking a lot about Pixar. Coco. Coco is, I mean, it really is. You want to talk about the perfect blend of comedy, emotionality, visually stunning, music, everything in it. And from people I've talked to, because I'm not Hispanic, it got the cultural stuff right. Everything in it just, it sang. It is a beautiful, and as far as a beautiful movie, movies get better as they go along, like I was talking about with Pixar movies. Soul wasn't better than Coco. As far as visual, the sheer imaginative scope they had to go for just representing something that was real. Soul might have been a little bit better because they're still working with real things. You know what a table looks like. You know what some hair looks like. But for Coco, the imaginative scope when they went to the City of the Dead, the rose, the flower petal bridge, perfection. Absolutely one of the best movies ever. My favorite movie of all time, the one I will watch all the time, no problem. If it's on, I stop, I watch it. I've got it on DVD. Pulp Fiction.
Oh!
Pulp Fiction. The movie started the trend where you don't do linear stories. Samuel Jackson at the height of his power. You got the reinvention of John Travolta. You got this thing is star packed, and some of these stars weren't stars at the time. You look at this. This movie made them, and it really defined Quentin Tarantino's stuff. For a director, I'll watch anything he makes, but this is where it really defined that style of kind of coarse, sharp dialogue, sharp storytelling, great linear. I mean, it wasn't linear, but when you got done the movie, you're like, wow, it went this direction, this direction, this direction. So good. I mean, you can't. Tell me what's bad about it. Royale with cheese, wrong.
Not the Royale with cheese.
They don't know what a quarter pounder is in France. Come on, man. They got the metric system. Such a great movie. I mean, if I were to put in a couple honorable mentions, I'm going to throw them in real quick, which I won't talk about. Lawrence of Arabia is amazing, and Bueller's Day Off. Those are my two throwaways for like. But I had to pick 3.
Yeah. Okay, David.
Well, and we talk about the honorable mentions. I think you just said Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That was one of those movies that was kind of there. If we were doing 5 or 10, that one would have been in mine too. So I have a lot of respect for your picks there. I'll go. You went 3, 2, 1. I'll go 1, 2, 3. First and foremost, probably not surprising with some of our primary theme for what we've done a lot of the talking about for these programs with Pam and you. I'm going to go Star Wars because it was the biggest movie for me. It has had such a profound impact on me personally and my wallet and the space in my home with my action figures and all of that. So that's got to be number 1. I never left the theater the way I did that time in 1977. Saw it in the old theater there in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. I had a seat right next to the wall. This was 1970s vintage, so it was shag wallpaper. Yeah, brown shag wallpaper. I remember touching it, thinking, "Is this what a Wookiee feels like?" I don't know, but that Star Wars number 1. Number two for me, and this was really tough between. I thought about Robin Hood and Captain Blood. Captain Blood, one of my all-time favorites too. First Errol Flynn movie, but for number 2, I'm gonna go with Casablanca. Casablanca as an amazing film, a World War II period piece, Hollywood in its golden years. You saw a film where it encapsulated the lives of individuals, but those individuals represented nation states on the world stage at one of the most important points in human history. And this was a beautiful movie, great lines. One of the best lines in it, and that film is full of great ones. It's "I'm only a poor corrupt official." So I love that one. Lots of great lines through it. You can also see the Rick's Cafe America scene There's a lot there in the similarity of how that film kind of goes through and sees the cutthroats of different characters to the Cantina in Star Wars. There's a little bit of an homage connection there.
Mm-hmm.
My third movie, and I gotta love Bogart, one of the coolest cats ever. If you want to, so there's a link to that with some of the film noir stuff that I love too. Casablanca 2, the third one, and I'm gonna call this movie perfect, even though it's my third film. But I think it was, it was flawless. That's not to say that there aren't better films, but for what it was perfect, and that was Michael Clayton. George Clooney movie. I think this movie was perfect. It asks one of the great questions that I think literature and film and music, so many things that grab us. It's this movie says to the protagonist, and this George Clooney, his character, Michael Clayton, who are you?
Yes.
Who are you? And he's trying to figure this out. And I think at the end of the day, the world asked us that question. Who are you? And why should we care?
Right.
Every day at work, in our personal lives, this film asks it. He goes through this search, trying to be to do right. And I just thought this movie was brilliant. It touches on economic issues, with multinational corporations. It talks about environmental issues. But to me, this movie was just brilliant and perfect. So that's my top 3 movies of all time.
Dang. Oh, y'all got some in there that I love. Every one of those I love. So my list is different. And then I looked at it and I was like, well, okay. So I'm not going to put them in any order because I just love them so much. They're like children. I don't want to like choose one of them as my favorite, but these are the ones that, and I look at something as an all-time favorite that I can keep coming back to and learn something new, either about the movie or about myself. And so the first one is Defending Your Life. And it's this little small movie. I don't think it did very well, but it's about a guy kind of like Soul who dies, and he has to go to a purgatory kind of place where he has to defend himself against the choices he's made, but has he conquered fear in his life? And the message about conquering fear and living your life to the fullest and moving on from it, that just ripples throughout my life. And looking at that movie, it just has said so much to me about what you need to do in your life and what you need to appreciate and how you need to conquer fear in order to get yourself to where ultimately you want to be. The next one, I couldn't decide, so you guys have to forgive me, but I just had to say the Star Wars trilogies, the first set and the last set. Because I think those movies, especially if I had to pick one out of all of those, it still is Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Because it was just every emotion you could have was in them. It was bravery, and it was courage, and it was betrayal, and it was death, and it was, the just devastating when.
Deal. Yeah, that was the moment when you're like, what?
I mean, just everything, and then just the whole pathos. I mean, I was just like crying when I was watching it because I was like, no. And so, absolutely, the whole trilogy was just so meaningful. What they had to say about life and mentoring and friendship and love and Life Day. I love them. I can watch them over and over and over and over, never get bored, and never loses its appeal. And my last one is Star Trek Wrath of Khan.
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
It's a good one.
That to me same kind of feelings of just super incredible. I mean, the first movie, the first Star Trek movie was, but then they came back to this one, revitalized the whole franchise, had some deep cuts emotionally. Who could ever forget, Jim Kirk yelling, Khan! Or you have always, Shelby, always my friend, and then holding up I was devastated. And so I can still watch it. It still chokes me up. I'll still be sitting there like surprised. And Ricardo Montalban was the perfect foil for them. I mean, just every single character was perfect. Yeah. And yeah, and even the dumb Genesis kind of thing, I was with it. But the death of Spock, he's my all-time favorite character, and so that just destroyed me at the time. So that one up there, that's the top 3. And an honorable mention. And if those of you who know me know I love classic movies. So one of my favorite classic movies is All About Eve. Oh my gosh. I think that is the best script of any movie. It's perfection. I could say Casablanca because the Casablanca story you see repeated throughout filmmaking after that. But All About Eve is just that script, and that movie to me is also perfection. So those are my favorite. Let's see if did any of our people and Electric Melanin said the Empire was hers, and Dwayne DeMarcos, I think, did he say something about it? But yeah, I love, but then I realized all of my movies were kind of sci-fi fantasy movies. And you all, and I get it. With guys, it might be more crime drama.
And you should know that. I mean, both me and David obviously are big sci-fi guys, but if you're looking for the best of all time, I mean, you're gonna have to open it up to, all kinds of movies. Like I said, like God.
Yeah. And if we went to 5 or 10, there'd be like a bunch of different types of genres on there. But we gotta let the people have some time to sleep. But in the comments, if people are watching and they want to add their own favorites, let us know what your favorites are, especially if it's a recent one that we haven't seen. Because I tell you, I there's some horror ones that I love. There's some romantic comedies, of course, that I love, but these top all time. So does anybody want to talk about the others list?
Well, no, I mean Star Wars. When you guys both said Star Wars, you were the series. David was the movie. I love Star Wars, but Empire Strikes Back much better. I mean, it was the beginning of the what moment. Like I said, I almost put Sixth Sense in my list because it was one of those. What moment? Because you watch the whole damn movie, and in the last 15 minutes, it's like you get it, and they show you why you should have got it the whole movie. And Star Wars was the first movie to really do that with the big reveal. And I don't think I'm giving a spoiler to anybody, but Darth Vader is Luke's father, and everybody's like, what? In the movies, and it was just like,
that just completely blew your brains out at that point. Oh my God. Electric Melanin. This is true. And Electric Melanin and I have watched it, I don't know how many times. Best comedy, Hollywood Shuffle.
Oh my God. I knew you were going to say that.
You remember how many times I've watched it?
Yeah, I remember it. I don't remember because you watched it so many times. I was just I remember it's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, perfection. And and that's the thing with movies. They bring something, the best ones bring something to you. They illuminate things in you and big questions about life and relationships and the world and different things that really touch your heart and touch your spirit and touch your mind. So hopefully we'll get that in 2021.
Hopefully.
We'll get some good ones. Pat, you look like you had something you want to say before we wrap up.
It's really interesting, that all of us are looking. I think all three of us look at movies as a technical exercise and a writing exercise and everything else. But everybody remember, and just talking about the baddie thing, from Hollywood Shuffle. I mean, these things are all tied into whatever you were at that particular moment in your life.
Yeah,
and you have emotions tied to that movie because you saw that movie at this point when you were doing this or on the cusp of this or whatever. So you have these emotions, whether they're good, whether they're bad. I mean, it's really interesting to hear us all talk about the movies we love and why you love them, because sometimes it's not just a strictly critical exercise where you're looking, that shot would have been really good if they'd panned a little bit, but they did it really like this. It's not just a criticism of the movie. You're looking at where was I and what was I? What about this movie really just set itself into me? Which I really enjoy hearing everybody's stories about, like Pam, you, the Hollywood Shuffle. Yes, I remember it so much. So
I think Patrick's right. I think it's where we were when we saw something that's as powerful as much as anything as to what it says to us. But those are the things, those films that you watch over and over again that brings a sense of joy, whether it's going to make you laugh, whether it's going to, it's suspenseful and you're still on the edge of your seat, even though you know what's going to happen. That joy, that excitement. And that's one of the great things that movies, books, we obviously talk about movies here, but a good book is like a good friend, I say too.
Yes.
And so being able to go back to that relationship is very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've carted around my library of books since I was in college. So I have the same ones. They're dog-eared. The spines are all wrinkled. When you transport yourself into a book, you transport yourself into the universe, I feel like, because it can transport you to any different kind of place, any different kind of person, any different kind of life. And so that's the joy of what we do here at PJamma Life. We talk about movies, we talk about film and TV because we appreciate and enjoy what the creative process brings to us. So thank you guys for a really great show tonight, and really appreciate the learning about your movies and our review of Soul. And next week, let's see, what are we doing? I think we're doing another best of next week. And so looking forward to that. And I'm trying to find what we're gonna do real quick. So next week we're gonna look at the top Marvel movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So bust out your top Marvel movies. I think we probably could do 5 of those.
5.
Your top Marvel movies.
Okay.
And because we're gonna wait, and then the following week we'll start up with WandaVision and talk about WandaVision. So in preparation for that, we will do the our best Marvel movies, which is going to be a great list. So look for it. Come back to us next week on PJamma Life, and we'll see you again. Take care. Bye.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.